Welcome to Infantilization. Happy 2022. This is a podcast about poetic thinking where we share with you a different perspective of the social world. Every episode, we take a topic or a concept and we use the lens of philosophy, psychology, mythology, and art to analyze the wonderful horrors of the modern world. My name is Andrea Martinez.
My name is Andrea Padilla. In this episode, we explore the realms of ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, a phenomenon that exploded on YouTube almost 10 years ago and continues going strong. We discuss what this trend revealed to us about who we are as a modern society.
So for those of you who do not know what ASMR is, I congratulate you. It's a rabbit hole that I fell into I don't know, about 7 months ago, and Andrea and I have been talking about doing this episode for a while. So ASMR began as in a blog community online, I think in about 10 years ago, as Andrea already said, and people within this community named it as ASMR. So it's not really scientific. There is very little scientific peer-reviewed blah, blah, blah research on this. But people named it after hearing certain sounds. So for example, crinkling paper, or the sounds of nails tapping, or whispering, or something like the touch of something oily, or the sound of water falling. And some people, what they claim to experience is a tingling sensation at the back of their head or behind their ears that goes through the back.
Shouldn't we say we?
We,
since we both experience it.
I don't always experience it.
Really? Not
I
always?
rarely experience it, actually.
Then why are you on it? I experience it every time. I just I review it rationally, and the sensation is not good enough for me to keep going.
Because
it's a tingling sensation, yes, a braingasm.
Conditioning for me. So when you study classical conditioning, so reward and response, the interval conditioning is the most effective one because you don't know when you're going to get the reward. That's me. I'm the interval conditioned dog.
Oh no, I know I'm conditioned. I'm a rebel. I just or I guess I am addicted to other things, might I say, instead of ASMR, though I do react. I was glad I got these headphones that are not shitty. and yes, the two thing and whatever.
Oh, I have terrible headphones, and I'll confess, and I'll probably regret this confession. I tend to listen to it. So people mostly listen to this or watch these videos to sleep, to relax, right? And I listen to these videos at work. So when I'm in the office, I listen to them because there's oftentimes so much noise around me that I need to block it out, and I should block it out with music. But because we started into,
yes,
this was my rabbit
hole.
Researching. Then, but then it gets so. People claimed these videos have millions of views. There are many vloggers or YouTubers that have made significant amounts of money from this. There is Ghibli ASMR, that's gentle whispering. There's Whispers Red. There's all the types of profiles that mostly, so we can start there. It's mostly women. The vast majority of successful ASMR or ASMR artists, as they call themselves,
artists, poets,
they are women. So normally what happens in these videos is that the camera focuses on the ASMR artist, and the person whispers into one or two microphones that pick up basically the
Or the
softest
one,
sounds.
or the one that is the thing that has like ears. There's a thing that it has like two ears, and it's something like this. So, and it's like it's labeled the most sexual ASMR you've
Oh, I haven't
seen,
watched that
heard.
one. Yeah.
And it's a woman that comes over here, and then but the thing where she does it, it's not headphones, it's just, it looks like little ears, and it's like a cylinder.
Wow.
So
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
meant to feel like they're whispering in your ear, right? And Andrea brought
yeah.
up a very interesting aspect of ASMR. Uh, so the community that is called the whisper community completely denies that there are sexual aspects to ASMR. But to me, that was the first obvious thing. I was like, there is
Yeah,
a sexual aspect to this. There is some,
yeah.
like, some people claim like a fetish thing, but I do think that there is, it's not just the sexual, but the intimate, the performance of intimacy that brings about the sexual feeling, right? They also call the tingles that one experiences brain orgasms. They have been called brain orgasms, right? So the vast majority, according to the research that's been done, of that people that listen to ASMR just listen to it for relaxing purposes, but there is a small percentage, less than 10%, that use it for sexual purposes, for masturbation or
Or
whatever.
that admits it.
Hmm? Or that
Or
admits
that
it.
admits it. Yeah.
Exactly. So first of all, well, there's that connection with the sexual, right? And we're going to go into this a little bit deeper later on, because um I think there is a very interesting psychoanalytic aspect as to why this is sexual. But the fact that it's mostly women, right? So it's mostly women in role plays. So there are a lot of role plays. I think, Andrea, you had also watched some of the role plays, right?
I'm an actress, so I felt that was my rabbit hole. Role play ASMR,
Yeah.
from a woman selling you wands at an Ollivander like shop to a witch in the woods healing someone and helping someone off. And they all fall into personal attention.
Exactly.
Uh, but there's this other that is also role play. That's the epic fantasy, which I found very amusing. It existed, and I thought I enjoyed it a little bit, but I get bored. Like, I need drama. That's what happens to me. So my best ASMR was either the reading of Rumpelstiltskin by this woman that Moonlight Whisper. I forgot. I will get her name right, because maybe some of our listeners, viewers, are into ASMR, and she's good, and she's into Harry Potter and this kind of thing. So, and that's not sexual at all. I would get that it would. I mean, it's erotic in the sense that erotic is sexual, but it has more to do with the other thing that we're going to talk about, which is regression and being contained and etc. But also this other kind of personal care, attention, personal attention, which are the doctors, like.
Yeah, so there are a lot of doctors, a lot of dentists, a lot of
I hate
measuring your
doctors.
face, a lot of doing your eyebrows, doing your makeup. To me, the role plays
Oh
that
yeah,
I think are the
preparing you for a ball role play.
there are both directed to men or women. So there's like measuring you for a suit or going to the barber shop. There's two that I found quite cute, which is you go to the what do you call when you take the grooming salon. So you're supposed to be a
Your
pet,
dog.
a pet.
Oh,
You're a pet.
I did not get into transhumans.
Yeah. So there, it's also and there's another one where you're a Yeti. No, not
Yes,
from Star Wars, but the Yeti, the magical creature.
I did not get it all one, and I'm very interested in this, where I am treated as something other than human. I've been treated by aliens but I haven't been treated as an alien, an animal, you know, or something that I don't identify as immediately.
There
I
is
mean, I
a
would like to
there
be a
is a
dog,
wide
as Stevie
variety.
Bob
There's
says.
a lot of creativity that I can we can find in these videos. But the main thing is that they are going to produce these sounds like I am now going to touch your ear like this.
I
And
I would like to do it just as a complete dare to myself because I don't think I can't. Like my nature demands more decibels, but you know, it's a very interesting vocal exercise, and it
and
is a vocal
they
exercise
they
actually
last
in
for
vocal
15
technique.
minutes, 1 hour and 20 minutes, because they're meant to put people to sleep. So the fact that
Oh yeah,
it's mostly women, I think, is quite important, because it demonstrates, or it that we still very much, or archetypically very much, relate the nurturing and the taking care of. And
yeah.
you mentioned, Andrea, before we started recording, this kind of radical tenderness with the feminine. So radical tenderness is usually associated with feminine traits. And this is, I think, this part of the taking care of and the nurturing is very relevant in terms of how this connects to our primal desires, primal emotions as babies. I think the reason why ASMR is so appealing to so many people, and also the reason why it's connected to sexuality and sensuality, is that it allows us to regress back to infancy.
Yeah, a place of, or not a place, because there is no place and no time in this very early infancy, but to this sense of being in wholeness. This sense of wholeness also, and through relaxation, also allows us for other negative feelings or negative thoughts to, you know, stand down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would also say it has a lot to do with aggression in a way,
Mm-hmm.
how this need to relax in order to go to sleep, and how, you know, most of us either wear or should wear like a teeth uh, guard, or
Mm-hmm.
what's the name of
Teeth
this in
guard,
English?
a guard, yeah.
Yeah, a guard, same as in Spanish, a guard that allows you, you know, not to clinch
Mm-hmm.
all night, because clinching has, you know, not being relaxed has to do with also not being able to elaborate on certain traits of aggression, or just general things in that this can be associated with general things in your life, frustrations, or um, stuff in the mundane world that you're just not dealing with, that has all to do with sleep, and how we need to find these very particular spaces to connect to this sensation of being, you know, just
Being held, the
held. Yeah.
sensation of being held. And I think so, for example, Donald Winnicott, who was object relations psychoanalyst, talks about this holding, right? So when the baby is a baby, one of the main things of the mothering one, of the mothering figure, is that providing the baby with a sense of safety, with a sense of being held. um and this is, I think, the main feeling that is being transmitted through ASMR. So um of course, mediated by technology, and this, of course, is very problematic, because there is no real mothering one. There is it's a video, but the experience that is trying to recreate, it's the so also what object relations theory says is that when we are in womb, in the womb of our mother, right? We have this sense, like Andrea was saying, of oneness, right? That everything is connected, everything is part of me. There is no, and then what we Winnicott say, as well as Melanie Klein, is that there's no understanding of the boundary between the inner world of who is me, where I end.
I, not I.
Exactly, and where the world begins, right? So at the beginning, in the early stages of infancy, uh, the baby interacts with the mother's breast, right? But it doesn't understand that the breast is outside itself. It understands the breast as part of itself. There is no boundary. No boundary has been established psychically. And the process of weaning off the baby, right, it involves all these other steps, right, where Donald Winnicott would say transitional phenomena, the establishing of the separation between the external world and the I, right. And but anyways, in terms of ASMR, I think it's quite symbolic that people not only connect with this experience, but desire to be in a place where this experience of oneness, of being held, is being performed, recreated, right? I think that is the reason why people are responding. There is a desire for this sort of intimacy, even though the intimacy is not real intimacy.
Well, that's what I would say in terms of realness, that you've brought the word up a couple of times already. No realness, maybe, but there is a sort of truth to it, especially when you are, again, repeating the word, that there is a kind of representation or a performance to this. Then yes, of course, in performativity, or in terms of the poetic experience, for instance, one talks about the truth of that experience. So yes, in reality, there is no one there, giving you this care. You are not drinking the ginger tea that is being poured, but it
Nobody's
is
plucking your
activating.
eyebrows. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's plucking. But in terms of behavioral biology, for instance, I am sure that this must activate stuff in your brain, that in a way it's like whenever you imagine something nice, for instance, that how memory works, that in a way this evocative sense helps you to get out of a certain negative or depressive state, if you use your memory right or whatever. So there is a kind of truth that one is trying to experience, to truly feel that you are, I don't know, taken care of. It's
being taken care of, yeah.
or taken serious, because I was very taken by this genre of going to the doctors, of this kind of questionnaire for
filling up the
structure.
forms. Yeah.
So what's your name, and what do you like, and or very particular tests that you are. I was thinking maybe someone that has kind of a hypochondriac, or someone that is not being taken too serious, and it's very hard for you to get actual tests, even if you have the means. You do have to have a doctor that tells you, yes, go get this test. And in a way, there is a kind of one is achieving also a goal through this, well, very borderline experiences. I say borderline in terms of fact fiction, or
yeah,
or
I think
something
that part of fact and fiction is, and what you're saying, right, that we talked about the creativity and the fantasy of it, is very relevant, again, in terms of object relations, right? I like that you mentioned the dialogues in the ASMR, because they're always addressing you, right? They're like, how are you doing today? Do you what can I do for you? Like this, right? And then they give a little bit of time for response, even though the response
Yeah.
doesn't exist. So that this,
Well, that's because you didn't, but I bet like, and that would be another thing that maybe we should explore. Are there videos of people watching ASMR responding and other people watching that?
well, there's been
Because
also, so there's
I
been
started responding just to see exactly, just to
if they,
see if the time, yes, how it would fit. It fits.
there is a study that I was looking at that analyzes the comments to the YouTube posts of the ASMR videos, and well, what the study focuses on is on how ASMR videos perform intimacy, spatial intimacy, emotional intimacy, and how the comments all that to those videos react within the same avenue, right? So I respond,
Genre.
or no, within the same avenue of, like, if you have four types of intimacy, like when
Yeah.
the comments to the videos are for example, latte asks how I'm feeling, and I replied this, and latte replied this, and there could have not been another better response, right? So it engages the audience in this fiction. It engages their whatever, their strongest customers or fans, I don't even know what to call them, patients, into this fiction. And oh, hello, there's a cat behind Andrea, if you're listening to us. You can't see Mercury. Anyway, so Donald Winnicott talks about, again, this transitional phenomena that establishes the space in between the I and the external world. And for Donald Winnicott, there is a period of transition where the child grabs an object. It can be a teddy bear, it can be a blanket, and that's what he calls transitional object, that allows the child to make that transition,
Ask.
that movement into the separation of object and subject, into fiction and reality. And I think that's what ASMR plays with the boundary of engaging the audience into that fiction, while providing very primal satisfaction of care, of oneness. And because, sorry, I'm just going to say one more thing that is going to tie this to sex, because in that primal state of infancy, everything is together, all our instincts, all our desires are together within that same oneness. It's the sexual. And that's why some people react to ASMR sexually, and that's why there is that connection, I think.
No, and also that is why it's also, I mean, there's also like kind of ASMR for kids that let's remember or share with our listeners,
Really, there's
viewers.
ASMR for kids?
Well, when we first started talking about ASMR, we started talking about how ASMR posted a kind of both in the imagery of heaven or hell, of being heavenly or hellish,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of
Mm-hmm.
how you can get
That's
into
right.
this
Yeah, yeah.
loophole of, yeah. Well, in YouTube, there's also a lot of, videos of that are just, yeah, the unwrapping of a candy, or the constant, sound of that, like that kind of, or the very famous,
Tapping,
this kind of
crinkling,
thing,
yeah,
tapping,
crinkling
crinkling,
paper.
that
There's also videos
makes
of people.
babies
Sorry.
crazy and toddlers crazy. Like it's addictive.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where, like, also in that sense, regression has a lot to do with, or addiction patterns, for instance, and
Mm-hmm.
dependency has a lot to do with regression in terms of object relations as well. And what Melanie Klein would say, that these depressive mechanisms tend to infantilize us, or make us in need of this kind of caring for, so we are okay. And what I would say is that when one is like or what I can imagine is that the audience watching ASMR, although unaware of this possible regression, or that what is behind is this desire to regress into this cotton-like space, the people that watch ASMR, which includes, which is also, again, as you said, very linked to having the reaction, because apparently not everyone has the reaction that needs for ASMR to happen. So
right.
Passing that previous condition, or having that, being positive to this previous condition, the people that engage into ASMR are unaware of this regression, that what they are is wanting to regress into this cotton-like state, and also how this regression, without putting any judgment to it, also makes us more or reveals us in an infantile way, as childlike, this is a childlike state that we are in, which is a very interesting. We were earlier talking about our personal lives, and in sense of it's very interesting because, well, yes, in adult life, like if you would record certain adult lives at certain points, well, of course you would see very childlike behaviors. That in that sense, I am saying that we shouldn't frown upon this. I am not being judgmental in the sense of recognizing ourselves as just infantile and childlike figures. And just interrupt me, Andreita, please.
Well, I think there are two, depending on the culture, but also depending on the perspective, there is this idea that being childlike is a positive thing because of innocence and playfulness and the ability of to be creative and so on and so forth. But there's also the other, like in anything, right? There's the positive side of being more childlike and the negative side of being more childlike. And I think when we talk about ASMR, or the way I see it is, we're talking about and that's the reason why I'm a little bit embarrassed about my my listening to these videos, is I think it's a negative regression, right? So it's this it speaks of a desire for intimacy, for an intimacy that or for care, but also in this negative view of how we are an infantilized society. I would quote Paul Virilio. Paul Virilio is a philosopher, and he wrote The Information Bomb, philosopher of the 20th century. And in The Information Bomb, he talks about the infantilization of society, particularly, and this is where I'm going with this, although ASMR happens both in Asia, particularly in South Korea, and America, is the infantilization of American society. So, and here, what he talks about specifically are two things. Number one, that American society represents a young country, and this is also represented in its symbols. Junk food, the McDonald's character, Mickey Mouse, Disney, Las Vegas itself as a representation of infantile behavior, of the gambling, of the risk, of the and I do think that it's interesting that some of the most profitable ASMR artists are in America, right? And also Paul Virilio talks about Bill Gates, and but I think now we can still see that with Mark Zuckerberg and all the other
Elon Musk,
multi-billionaires, whatever. He
the
talks about
Jean T-shirt
Peter,
team.
the new Peter Pan, right? The Peter Pan
Yeah, the
stage.
Jean T-shirt.
The Jean T-shirt, exactly, right? And of course, maybe Paul Virilio, as I was telling Andrea earlier, probably wore waistcoats and shirts, but it's this desire to look young, but uh, to look young, but it's an infantile desire to regress into the holding, I would say.
Yeah, and actually that is why also, for instance, Free Britney was very important, because it was, well, I may act like a child, but I am not a child. Like that, I like butterflies and, you know, tiny shorts and twirling
that is
around.
the thing. I mean,
yeah. No, but for real, like that doesn't mean that in other things in her life that she, or does it mean that she cannot take these decisions? Because that's what his dad, that's what her dad said, you know, like, you can't take care of yourself, because, and in a way I would say he was making her a child.
of
And
course,
that was the whole.
of course. And I mean, this is also a very like symptomatic of America, right? Okay, so they freed Britney, great. But if you look at Britney's Instagram, I know it's just a profile and it's, you know, we see just a part of it, but she does present herself as an overgrown child. She's an adult. We know she's an adult. We know she's like what, in her 40s probably. Or is she younger than us? No,
No, she's older.
But in her Instagram, she still acts or she portrays herself as a someone younger, but it doesn't correspond to her age. So, and that's praised. Like there's tons of likes, tons of views, but it is a little bit odd to watch, I think.
No, but my point was that at the same time, this society America pushes this dynamic in your face, and at the same time, that is the reason why Britney got incarcerated by her father, when she was just doing as it should be done, in that, you know, just in terms of, without any moral judgment, you know, just that's what women do in America. That is one thing that some women do. I wouldn't say all, but it's a tendency which has to do with that. And, you know, it's also Madonna, you know, in the other, not in the same spectrum, is still Madonna. That is like woman.
And this is also something that Virilio mentions that I think has to do with this, what you're talking about of Britney Spears' father. He called it the safety first society, right? And so the safety first society is, you know, putting, as an example I'm going to give. So in America and in Canada, if you have sharp edges in your house, if a baby's coming, it has to be childproof, not childproof, but like there's a term
it
for
says
it.
childproof. Yes.
So you need to cover the edges, and like everything has to be safe, right? And then of course we walk into the safe space terminology and all of that. That I think it's all connected, right? It's like, let's be overly protective of how not to harm the child. Whereas in the past, just in Latin America and Europe and whatever, you know, you don't cover the sharp edges. Let the child learn that, you know, that's sharp and that will hurt you. And I think that kind of attitude is embedded in American society. And then, of course, that overprotectiveness creates overgrown children, whether they're famous or not, doesn't matter, but that's there.
That is also what I meant on how, for instance, aggression is linked to this also very primal state in our being, and how in our very also highly prone to violence society, there is this peak of also this society screaming for a way to, relaxing our jaw at night, and not and trying to also well, the food videos, the food ASMR videos that are also,
So
what's the
going
tag?
down this rabbit hole of ASMR that I just went really deep. I found mukbang. Mukbang is the term in South Korea for people eating, and there's men and women both eating what I would say
Just
horrible amounts of food. And you can hear the chewing and the slurping and the drinking and the swallowing and whatever. And apparently that is also an ASMR genre. And I must add before we continue on the chewing that Andrea will explain the link with aggression, but that there's also in South Korea SASMR, which is sexual ASMR, right? So South
did
Korea,
not see that.
well, they really so I don't know what would be the cultural explanation for this, but they don't mind the link, whereas the Americans ASMR do mind. They clearly state we are not. This is not a sexual satisfaction, whatever, right? Whereas SASMR does
Sex is bad.
yeah, sex is bad. Whereas in SASMR in South Korea, you cannot see the faces of the artists or the video bloggers, whatever, but it is a thing. It is its own thing, its own genre.
Okay.
But go on about the chewing, Andrea.
So mukbang, right? Yes. What I just watched them last night, and my mind was blown. So what I thought is about what Fritz Perls, which is was involved in the creation of the Gestalt movement, and and also the whole transpersonal wave in psychology. What he says is how he links, as well as the whole Lowen and Reich and all these people that link body and mind situation, the drama in the body. They link chewing to aggression, and how aggression is linked to the jaw, and aggression, frustration, all of the negative, well, one say, yes, I'll say negative, because there's probably a lot of energy that is clinched and it's not being, distributed, released properly. And how, for instance, through chewing, and this is why it's very important and child in the development of the child, the whole process of them, knowing their food and knowing what they like and what we like, and we prefer this and that. And also to give them kind of, sometimes hard things to chew on. Yes, like very common sayings like
took more than you chew, I think, or something like this.
Yes, took more than you could chew. Have to do with this kind of frustration dynamics, or because now you have to chew more for it to get done, for whatever business it is you took the bite of to get done. So also this kind of this linkage with aggression, I found it very interesting here, because it is not at all.
Andrea, if you're not watching this, Andrea is holding a carrot at the moment.
A baby carrot. What I mean is that it's not pretty. What I would say, it's more grotesque in terms of how Bakhtin puts grotesque, that is linked to earthly desires, and to also the vulgar, and the digestion of life through food, and the feast. So what I mean that it's not pretty is that they take, it's like, here's the carrot, and they just
Yeah, yeah.
They chew, and they chew the whole thing. And I'm sorry, I don't have a proper microphone. If not, you would be hearing me loudly chew.
And
You're
the
just
carrot.
hearing me yeah.
But
And
I think that is really the bottom of it, right? Is that at the bottom of it, you know, you're saying this like visceral kind of basic. It the reason why there's ASMR for chewing or like eating, and it's so grotesque, and the reason why is there ASMR just blocking your eyebrows, and the reason why there's ASMR that is sexual, right? It's because it is all joined at the primal oneness. So it doesn't
yeah,
matter how you beautify it or how you like how complex the production of it is. The root of it is as the very primal baby boundary of the baby and the mothering one. The mothering one who is the object of desire as the breast, as the one that feeds the baby.
which is also what would Klein say about religion and how
Right.
religion works in terms of the schizoid paranoid position, where one feels in oneness with and only with the ones that are under these under cat dog god, you know, or what have you, or whatever your creed is. And well, in terms of wholeness, and also its very paradoxical relationship with aggression and addiction, we read The Pains of Youth, which is a play by Buchner, Frederick Buchner. What's
Ferdinand
his?
Ferdinand Bruckner.
Ferdinand. Ferdinand Bruckner. Yes. And well, it's a play about a bunch of youngsters that study medicine in the early 20th century. It's 1924 or 28, something like this, in
26.
Vienna. 26, okay, in Vienna. And well, there's a lot of very interesting dynamics also in terms of power struggle in many, as you know, theater also always exposes this very paradoxical dynamics in reality. But we would really, the reason why I told Andrea we should read this play is especially because of this character, that her name is Desiree, which cosmically means desire. And it's perfect, of course, and it's cosmic for the play. And she and her relationship with Maria, and also the play kind of integrates the kind of the sexuality in regression, in terms of how this character goes. What we know of her is that she's very sexually open and even sexually promiscuous, as some people would, some characters will judge upon her. Accuse her of, you know, promiscuity, in that very awful word. But she has this very melancholic character. They also call her melancholic. She is an aristocrat that has fled her home and has, this has liberated herself through the studying of medicine, enrolling herself in college, and also experiencing her sexuality vastly, particularly with Fred something. I don't know, I forgot his name in English, but let's call him Fred. Let's call him Fred. That's
okay, Fred.
It works both English and Spanish. And who's a war veteran, and also has this very traumatic relationship with alcohol and aggression and sexuality and whatnot. But then comes Maria, which is the iconic, stereotypical women that can do all, and in other
great potential. She has great potential. Like
great potential.
Can I just say, what was the song by Fiona Apple? Fiona Apple's last album, Jamaica. She said, Jamaica said I had potential. Yeah.
So Maria has potential. Maria. And the way Fred describes her biggest potential is precisely that she can be a nurturer. She could be a great mother of 10. She could be everything. She could be a surgeon or a mother of 10. And this is important because Desiree lives Fred and, well, weasels her way in to Maria's realm of desire, and they create this very strong bond, and one could symbiotic bond, yes, for who could one also say dependent bond with each other. And from the get-go, like first act, first scene, we see how Desiree is very enticing Maria into this regression, or into how like this
oneness,
like that is what she wants, this oneness, and how this oneness can only be fulfilled between two women. And well, this sadly is going to end in suicide, and I love to spoil things. Because, well, this oneness is impossible, and as soon as Desiree, knows this one more time, she decides she's not gonna take it for any more times. But Andrea wants to share with us a part of this very early stage in the play where we know this is what she's inviting Maria to.
So I'm just going to share two lines that are very symbolic of what we talked about today. One is Desiree saying, why can't we go on being children all of our lives? And after this, she embraces Marie, so looking for that union. Also, Winnicott talks about the meaning of a string in child's play. He has a couple of examples of boys using strings to connect everything because they are looking for that union. And then she says, I want the warmth. I want to be all wrapped up in cotton wool. And this imagery really made me think of ASMR videos. And then at the end, I think, well,
and she's also, I would like to point out that she's also evoking the memory of being with her sister,
right,
that we don't know if she died or what happened to her.
But there seems to be a sexual, not sexual relationship.
Yes,
it's never clarified.
When we interpret the play in the groups that I've read it with, we also what we coincide is that in this child play, how we constantly initiate ourselves with our siblings into sexual activity without knowing that this is going to be,
what about only children
on to sex.
What do they do?
No, well, you have cousins. That is why it's siblings, and siblings also. Well, or other peers. I would say other peers. That is what happens also in child play, in kindergarten and stuff like this. And I would also say it comes to pass into this infantilization of women, how men fantasize of our pillow fighting.
Oh yeah.
Like that I would say that it has a lot to do with that, and with what many women in the realm of feminism say, that one of the issues with the problem with women as a construct is that we are constantly being infantilized.
Britney Spears once again comes to mind.
Yeah.
And just to end, so our episode today was called Another Neverland, bringing back this kind of grotesque, fucked up Peter Pan, scary part of our regressive,
or heavenly. I mean,
or heavenly. But today we talked more about the dark side of Neverland, if we think about Michael Jackson as well. So in one of the lines quoting Novalis in the play, which I'm going to probably end with, is, nothing so distinguishes man from nature as his addiction to his own sickness and pain. So check out some ASMR videos if you're curious, and let us know about your experience, if you got tingles or not. Okay, thank you for listening. My name is Andrea Martinez.
My name is Andrea Padilla.
And follow us on Instagram and YouTube.
Yes.